I'm Khalid Bryan, Miami Realtors YPN. This is episode 9 at the Miami Realtors YPN Global Congress. And we're here with who I believe is one of our newest YPN members. And you're not new to real estate. He's just new to Miami Realtors YPN. You do commercial real estate, is that correct?
That is
Please
correct.
tell us your name, tell us who you are, and we'll get into it later.
Yes,
What's your
sir.
name?
So my name is Joshua Moreno. I'm a commercial real estate broker with Remax. We specialize in investment sales here in South Florida.
Okay, cool. So did you start your career in commercial or were you residential moved over?
No, sir. Great question. So I started my career in residential. I closed my very first deal 3 days in the business.
Okay.
And residential for the first half. I've been in the business now 10 years. I transitioned right around COVID
Nice.
into commercial.
Okay, and is COVID what made you transition, or what was your deciding force?
So I closed my first commercial deal in 2017, which was like year 2 or 3 in the business for me.
Okay.
But COVID was really what really pushed me into, because I saw the need for me to adapt and evolve.
Yeah.
And it was such a prime time because we all needed to evolve. I remember precisely I was number 40, 50 in an open house. For those of you that were in the business back then, you remember how those open houses were?
Yeah.
I said, never again am I going to be in this situation.
Yeah, that line.
Let me do commercial. I transitioned to something that was more challenging. So
Okay,
that way
yeah.
it's a lot harder to do these deals,
Yeah.
less competition, so to speak. But also, more importantly, probably bigger deals in itself.
Yeah.
So if we're going to be doing this business, let's play at the high level.
I agree. Okay, and commercial is a whole nother ball game. There's a lot of rules, reading. Just how do you educate yourself in that field? Like, how do you stay on top of your game?
Great question.
Yeah.
So what helped me the most was pursuing my CCIM education. So
okay.
I've done CCIM 101, 102, 103. I'm doing 104 in the next couple months. And I'm aiming to test for my final in April of this year, coming up 2025. That has given me a huge base of education. On top of that is staying privy to the market. So constantly reading reports. I'm reading every single day what's coming out, how the market is doing, where trends are going, where buyers and sellers are positioning their assets, where they're allocating their funds. Those are all things that I'm constantly looking for. If I can see how they're thinking, then I can also move at their same pace as well.
Okay, so it's all about getting to know who you're working with and being relatable. So I remember you saying when you started in residential, 3 days in, you got a deal. So I'm imagining commercial is similar, where you didn't fully know the full scope of the business when you got your first deal. Do you remember how you met that first client and how they transitioned into let's do a deal? Like, how'd you do that?
Great question.
Yeah.
So the very first client, it was actually an expired listing for a single family house
Okay.
in Brownsville.
Yeah.
And I prospected, eventually sold them their house. I actually got both sides of that deal. And they said,
Nice.
you know what, Josh, I want you to help me with this other property. That was actually a retail, a shopping center that was undergoing a 40-year. They were actually going to be having to demolish the building because they were past their 40-year recertification.
Yeah.
Didn't have the funds, didn't have the capability to bring the property up to standards, and they just decided to sell it. So in short, it started with an expired for a single family house, which turned into a relationship trust that led me to other business, commercial business.
Okay, so the big takeaway I get from that is you don't just start out and just here's a commercial client. Sometimes the people in your CRM, the people in your contact list are going to become your buyers, your sellers, your investors, and your commercial clients. So I guess what's the number one way you keep up with all your people? Like, how do you keep up with all the people in your phone book?
Great question. So
Yeah.
CRM, number one.
Yeah.
Having them on a systematic campaign,
Okay.
reaching out to them. I have something I coach with Workman Success, and we have something called the top 50. So who are your top 50 prospects or top 50 people in your database that you want to keep in contact with, and just constantly nurturing with them, touching them on a consistent basis, quarterly, whether it's mailers, whether it's on a weekly basis through emails, whether it's a phone call, a visit, a pop by, so on and so forth. But having that top 50 of your core people that are going to do business with you, and everything else is just broad blast marketing, whether it's email blast, social media, so on and so forth.
That's amazing information. How can people find you?
Joshua.moreno.cre. That is my Instagram handle. That's the best way to get a hold of me. Or you can give me a call directly at 305-878-5846.
You got to spell your last name. You got to spell Moreno.
Moreno. So Joshua, Instagram is joshua.moreno. Moreno's Moreno, and .cre.
That's what it's
Commercial
all
real
about.
estate.
CRE. That's the name of the game. All right, this is it. The episode nine? Episode 8? Episode 8 at the Miami Realtors YPN Global Congress. You've heard it here. I'm Khalid Bryan. You met this guy. Follow him on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. I'm Khalid Explains It All because I explain things very well. And we will see you in the next one. Boom.